Good afternoon, members, and welcome to this meeting of the City Council. I'm delighted to see Councillor Tudor Evans back in his place, and I hope he's made full recovery. I'm also pleased to see a number of people in the public gallery watching democracy in action. But I would ask that all members of the public present, in order to avoid unnecessary distraction to councillors and others watching the proceedings, that you keep to your chosen seat until a natural break in the agenda. During the meeting today, I'll be making rulings on process and conduct, and would ask Council to abide by the standing orders and rules of debate. At certain times, I may seek guidance from my advisors. Should we need to adjourn, I will inform Council of what is happening and a time for us to reconvene. If member speeches run over the time allocated, I will allow you to finish your sentence, but to ask you to finish as quickly as possible. I would also like to take this opportunity to remind members that there is no local government equivalent of parliamentary privilege. Members will therefore be liable for any defamatory statements they make, and may I also remind councillors of the requirements of the Member Officer Protocol. If you wish to speak during the meeting, I would ask you raise your hand and wait for me to invite you to speak. Please raise any points of order verbally. I will then pause the meeting to deal with the point of order. When raising a point of order, please state which procedure, rule or law you believe has been breached. All votes will be conducted via the electronic voting system today. If we receive any amendments to the recommendations before Council today, I will adjourn to ensure that all members have adequate time to read the amendments. I move to item 1. Apologies. Are there any apologies for absence?
Thank you, Lord Mayor. We have apologies from Councillors Bannerman, Steele, Hayden, Cuddihy and Rebecca Smith.
Can I ask if there are any further apologies? Councillor Darcy?
Thank you, my Lord Mayor. Councillor Lugger is on his way. He intends to attend. Thank you.
Thank you. I believe there might be other people that are late attending as well. Thank you. I move to item 2, the minutes. I move that we agree the minutes from 24th of November 2005 as a correct record. Deputy Lord Mayor, will you second my proposal?
I'll second your proposal, my Lord Mayor.
Thank you. Does anybody else wish to speak? We go to the vote. Please vote using the buttons on your unit: green in favour, red for against, and amber to abstain. Motion is carried. Move to item 3 on the agenda, declarations of interest. Can members please make it known by raising their hands if they have any private or disclosable pecuniary interest in any of the matters on today's agenda. My advisor will take a record of the interest declared. None? Thank you. Item 4. Appointments to committees, outside bodies and council proportionalities. Councillor Taylor has replaced Councillor Dan as Cabinet Member for Customer Experiences, Sport and Leisure, Human Resources and Organisational Development. Sorry, I've anticipated what you were going to say, Leader, sorry. Yeah. Councillor Dan has replaced Councillor Taylor on the Licensing Committee and the Children, Young People and Families Scrutiny Panel. Question 5. Questions from the members of the public. This item will not exceed 10 minutes, so if we don't get to your question, then we'll give you a written answer, a formal written answer afterwards. Mr. Surtees, would you like to raise your question, please?
My question is to the Deputy Leader. With the announcement made that Plymouth will bid to be UK City of Culture 2029, will you commit to working with and including our diverse communities, from our black and ethnic community to the disabled community and more, in any and all plans made?
Councillor Lang, would you like to respond?
Thank you, Lord Mayor. The answer, thank you for the question, and the answer is yes, most definitely. For any bid to succeed, we will need to demonstrate meaningful engagement with our residents across the city, and that's what we intend to do. There are several phases to the process. The first is to submit an expression of interest. We need to do that by the 8th of February. It doesn't give us a lot of time. During this phase, meetings are taking place with stakeholders, including representatives from culture, sport, education, community, the local authority, NHS, community homes, business, social enterprise, natural environment, tourism, leisure and hospitality, and the cultural sector, including companies, artists and freelancers. We will also be hosting several community drop-in discussions to garner information from as many people as we can. Please check the Plymouth Culture website and social media platforms for announcements regarding dates. If we do get through to the next phase of the process, fingers crossed we will be able to undertake a deeper dive into community engagement. DCMS has not yet issued a detailed timetable, but we think that a bid would need to be prepared between April and late July this year.
Thank you, Councillor Lang. Mr. Bamping, would you like to ask your question?
Thank you. How can Plymouth City Council be serious about applying to become the UK City of Culture 2029 when under a Labour-led council on June the 8th, 2020, it cancelled our own culture and history by removing the Sir John Hawkins Square signs? Plymouth needs reform.
Councillor Lang, would you like to reply? Councillor Penberthy.
So I've been asked to respond to this one, and thank you for the question. The Council and our partners are extremely serious about our bid to become the UK City of Culture 2029. This encompasses not only our amazing and complex history, but also the fantastic creative activity within the city. At no point has the Council cancelled the history of Sir John Hawkins. His life is marked with an exhibit in the box and in pieces of public art within the city.
Thank you, Councillor Penberthy. Mr. Stoneman, would you like to raise your question?
My question's to the leader. Can the leader explain why no planning permission or listed building consent was in place for the Westall Pier repairs? Why work was undertaken at the worst time of the year, when it was closed all summer? And what is the estimated cost of the repairs now the pier has been destroyed due to lack of planning?
Councillor Evans, could you please answer that one?
Can I have Councillor Penberthy do answer this one, because it's his responsibility?
Yeah, Councillor Penberthy.
Not the storm, that wasn't his responsibility.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. We always try to plan to avoid storms and bad weather as much as practically possible. Weather events are increasingly more frequent and of greater intensity, making timing works more and more difficult. Procuring work of this type takes time to plan and finance. In addition, Work was planned to cause as little disruption to businesses on the waterfront as possible. The works to the West Hoe Pier were split into 2 phases, with the first phase planned to take place at the end of the summer and into the autumn for exactly that reason. Unfortunately, the volume of material requiring excavation was more than had been anticipated and took additional time to remove from site. This delayed the programme and the timing of pouring concrete. When the first storm hit, the pier was at its most vulnerable point and caused the damage that occurred. The focus then has shifted to recovery, and we are closely working with contractors and consultants flexibly and rapidly to mitigate the damage. Heritage conservation officers were consulted earlier last year on the proposed works of the pier. Due to variations in records and in the number of past interventions, it was agreed that the first phase of work would be carried out without listing building consent, and the information gleaned from the initial excavations and investigations would provide more detailed information about the exact nature of the work needed, which would then be submitted for consent. The intention was to complete this investigative stage and before phase 2 to make a listed building consent application with the exact nature of the works. This is still the case, and we continue to liaise closely with the heritage officers. There has always been an intention to obtain listed building consent. The first phase was exploratory, which was to inform the application prior to works commencing in the second phase. As some of you may have seen, Plymouth Live contacted Heritage England, who said listed building consent is not generally required for like repairs to listed structures. It is the responsibility of the local planning authority, in this case, Plymouth City Council, to determine whether consent is required. Swift repairs are needed, but Historic England recognises the challenging conditions in which they need to be made. The estimated extra costs due to the storm are between £150,000 to £200,000. The main works are funded from an approved capital budget for repairs and maintenance, which included suitable contingency allowances for unseen events such as this. Therefore, the increased costs can be absorbed within that contingency without impacting other projects or budgets.
Thank you, Councillor Penberthy. Councillor Harrison, would you like to raise your... Sorry, Councillor Harrison. Mrs Harrison, would you like to raise your question?
Thank you. The question is to the Cabinet Member for Transport, Councillor John Stevens. There have been several severe weather alerts resulting in icy roads and pavements, and I am concerned the number of accidents will increase. Could you provide the current number of grit bins across Plymouth? How many were removed after the latest review? And would you consider replacing the ones taken away? Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs Harrison, for your question. The grit bin review recommendations to the Housing and Community Services Scrutiny Panel were presented on the 16th of July 2025. 112 existing grit bins were recommended for removal and 81 new locations to be added, resulting in a net reduction from 480 to 449 bins. Following consultation with ward councillors, these numbers were amended to show a final provision of 452 bins around the city. The review was accepted by the scrutiny panel with a proviso that all ward councillors were consulted prior to any changes taking place. The emails were sent to all ward councillors on the 7th of August with a 3-week consultation period with responses by Friday the 29th of August. We continue to review grit bin requests and additional sites will be mobilised for the winter period 2026 to 27. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Stevens. Mr Moore, would you like to raise your question?
Thank you. Yes, regarding the decision to withdraw funding for Caterhead, what guarantees can you make that the quality and costs of school meals to children in Plymouth will not be affected?
Thank you for that question. The planned closure of school catering company, Catered, is not a result of the council withdrawing any funding, and it will not lead to children going without school meals. Catered is a cooperative trading company jointly owned by local schools and Plymouth City Council, and was formed in 2015 to provide high-quality school meals to Plymouth schools by using a cooperative model designed to provide economies of scale. As Catered currently is unable to continue trading beyond academic year 2025-2026, the Catered board has taken the decision to cease school meal provision to prevent a situation of wrongful trading and to give schools time to secure alternative providers. This is a board of directors decision and not a shareholder decision or council member decision or a Plymouth City Council decision. The supply and provision of school meals, meeting mandatory school food standards, is a statutory responsibility that is delegated to school governing bodies and, where appropriate, trusts. Funding for the school meal service comes from the school's delegated budgets. While many schools in Plymouth are part of the Catered cooperative company that provides school meals, they are free to choose how they provide meals. Some schools already use other providers for children in the city. This means that children will receive their school meals and there should be no gap in provision. Schools and multi-academy trusts, MATs, will now need to make the decision as to who provides school meals from September 2026. Schools and MATs are still working through this decision, so providers at this stage are not known. Providers must adhere to certain standards of nutritional value and quality. Plymouth City Council has not directly funded Catered, so it has not withdrawn any funding. However, in light of the difficulties the company was facing, the council offered a one-off package of support, likely to cost Plymouth City Council more than £500,000, to allow the company to keep trading through to the end of the academic year 2025-2026, or until schools make the switch to alternative providers, if that happens sooner. This has given schools the time they need to source and contact an alternative provider. As a council, we will continue to support any maintained schools in finding alternative suppliers. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Creswell. That's the end of questions from the public. Anybody who has raised a question that hasn't been answered will be sent a written reply. Thank you. I move to item 6, announcements, and I have one announcement to make first of all. Holocaust Memorial Day. As we approach Holocaust Memorial Day, I wish to draw the Council's attention to our city's annual civic ceremony to be held tomorrow in remembrance of the Holocaust and the subsequent genocides. This year we will also pay particular tribute to the Holodomor War in Ukraine, recognising the suffering endured during that tragedy. Our commemoration will feature a moving performance from the choir and will focus on the theme of bridging generations, reflecting on how the stories and lessons of the past must be carried forward by each new generation. I ask all present to join me in observing a minute's silence to honour both victims and survivors of the genocide and to reaffirm our collective commitment to remembrance and reconciliation. Would all members please stand? Thank you. I now have a number of awards to present, and I believe the people to be awarded are outside or will be coming into the chamber in a minute. So I'll go down into the well of the chamber to make the awards. Right, the following awards have been made, which I will now present. Almost 800 damp and ageing homes were demolished in North Prospect, and more than 1,100 high-quality, energy-efficient, brand-new homes were built, offering a wider variety of house types, sizes, and tenures to completely revitalise the community, in partnership with PCH. This project has won a Best Regeneration Project at the Inside Housing Awards. Neil Mawson, Andrew Lowry, and Nick Jackson are in attendance to receive the award. Plymouth Crematorium has won Building of the Year at Devon and Cornwall's Building Forum, recognising the high-quality experience for bereaving families in a beautiful natural setting. Graham Smith is here to receive the award. Sterling House has won the Best Development Under 50 Homes Award at the RTPI Awards. Sterling House is a veterans self-build project, a plan for homes development of 25 high-quality, affordable homes for social rent, including a number of self-build properties for service veterans at risk of homelessness. Delivered in partnership between the Council and Live West, the project stands out for its collaborative planning and strong partnerships, which have produced resilient outcomes that benefit both people and nature, with clear evidence of social capital returned to the economy. Simon Osborne and Neil Mawson are here to receive the award. Transport Operations and Vehicle Maintenance has won Best Performance at the APSE Awards, recognising the team's outstanding commitment to service, improvement and operational excellence. From maintaining our vehicles' fleet to implementing better systems and processes that keep our services running smoothly day in, day out. Martin Hoare, Ali Grant and Simon Tung are in attendance to receive the award. Leader, do you have any announcements?
Thank you. Lord Mayor, if I may, I would like to express my heartfelt thanks to you and members of this council and partners who've reached out to me with very kind messages during my recent period of ill health. Your support means more than I can say. I'm also deeply grateful to the Cabinet for stepping in and stepping up to keep everything going in my absence. In particular, I'd like to thank the Deputy Leader, Councillor Lang, for her Herculean efforts, not only maintaining her own portfolio, but also doing mine, and stepping in for a number of really important engagements, which, although from my hospital bed I was sad that I wasn't there. For example, the Team Plymouth event in London, it was more than stepping into my shoes. Jemima did a magnificent job, and the council should be grateful to her for what she did. So you let the cat out of the bag earlier on during an earlier item about changing portfolios. So you'll have noticed, I'm sure, Councillor Sue Dan is stepping back from her role now as the Cabinet Member for Customer Experience, Sport, Leisure and HR and OD, and has been away since the 1st of January in that role. I've got to think of a snappier title, actually, I think, for the next time we do it. But Sue's not retired. She's stepping back. I think it's really important to say that, and reports of her demise have been quite exaggerated. But I have to say that few of us in politics get the opportunity to be the architects of our own withdrawal from the front line. We usually have the electorate to do that for us. So Sue's in a very fortunate position that she's been able to dictate the terms of her own departure from the front line. And although I was incredibly sad when she requested that, the reason for doing so was entirely understandable. Literally, this gets said a lot, spending more time with your family is usually an excuse for something happened to you that you didn't want to happen in politics, isn't it? But in your case, it's entirely intended. It's not as if you're leaving under a cloud, Sue. For 2 decades, Lord Mayor, Sue's been a driving force in Plymouth. I'm not going to read out the whole list of things she's done because we'll be here till tomorrow. But I've got to say that in 2 major stints in the Cabinet, she's been the person that I've been able to turn to, not just for her own portfolio, but actually for wisdom and counsel. In her working life, I know how valued she was in a number of places for her maturity and her common sense approach, but also her incredible ability to be with people and to deal with people, and to be empathetic and stern when needed to be. But we will miss that more than anything else in the Cabinet. Happily, we won't have to miss that in the Labour group because she'll still be a part of us, I hope, for a very, very long time indeed. But I wanted to say in recent years, I mean, you know, when we took over in 2023, I mean, the person I turned to do this was obvious. We got set this task by the Prime Minister to prepare a cost of living plan to try and deal with the consequences of that. And putting people from Plymouth first was a fundamental part of that. Projects like making sure that we kept the free swimming at Mount Rice pools, for example. There's a lot of stuff around safe places. She safeguarded cherished facilities, delivered thousands of free activity sessions. And we still run with things like Fit and Fed and all those other things. But also she had time, as well as doing that, to be pushing out on digital transformation and service improvement generally. Yeah, it's important as well. I mean, we've seen a number of great Lord Mayors occupying your chair, but I think, you know, consensus would have it that she was an exceptional Lord Mayor as well. People were bowled over by her constant energy and enthusiasm for wherever she went in Plymouth. The dancing and the singing, we can probably take or leave that, but there were other fantastic moments during that year, which I know not only she enjoyed, but Chris, her husband too, absolutely had a ball. And she was fantastic. So Sue, from this side of the chamber, but I'm sure from all sides of the chamber, and in fact on behalf of everybody in Plymouth, can we thank you from the bottom of our hearts for a fantastic job that you've done in the front line, for your tireless service and unwavering commitment to Plymouth. Thank you, and you have made a difference. But having said that, it is great to be able to welcome back Kate Taylor to the Cabinet. Of course, younger viewers may not appreciate this, but all those years ago, I think it's 5 years ago, Kate Taylor was spearheading the response of this council during the COVID crisis, working not just with our own adult social services, but also the health team, and of course across partners too. So she brings a breadth of experience back to the Cabinet, and you know, I would say no hesitation in picking up and running with the portfolio that Sue made such a remarkable difference to. And already, so I understand, it's exciting for you. It's not every day you get the chance to meet the manager of Plymouth Argyle, and of course a Freeman of the city as well. Nance was here too, and there won't always be Mondays like that. So, Kate, I would have to say to you, but it was a pretty spectacular start to your tenure. Lord Mayor, last week the annual budget scrutiny panels took place, and let me be upfront and say again, there is going to be a challenging budget this year. I think we've made that clear. Like every other council in the country, there's real pressure because some of our demand-led services are under real pressure nationwide. But our ambition remains clear. This city must grow. Because growth is how we create more jobs, how we raise skills, how we increase wages, how we deliver better housing and expand opportunities. Growth is how we lift people out of poverty, improve health, and reduce long-term pressure on our services. And in my speech to council in a few weeks' time when we do the budget meeting, I'll be laying out the detail in particular about how we plan to do that. But just for those of you unfortunate enough to miss my speech to the scrutiny panel last week, just going to give you a little sneak peek of that. We're going to drive economic growth. We're going to ensure that Plymouth's voice is heard nationally. We're going to secure unprecedented levels of investment. We're going to create new and sustainable income. We're going to raise living standards and reduce demand on services over the long term by doing those things. We are at a tipping point in Plymouth, I think it's fair to say, and I'll say it now and again and again and again, that we're at this tipping point because we've got the greatest opportunity we've had in decades. The last 12 months alone has seen us secure a 4.5 billion defence deal, a 50-year pipeline for Team Plymouth, recognition as the UK Centre of Marine Autonomy, Helsing opening up their new factory here, Babcock commencing major investment, £1 billion city centre investment pipeline through our partnership with Homes England. It goes on and on and on, and I will go on and on and on in a couple of weeks' time. It's our moment. What I'd like to say, there's lots to look forward to in 2026. You know, you could read Plymouth Live and get completely depressed about our prospects, but actually the reality of the situation is we're in a really good place. We've got work starting in Bar Street, bombs notwithstanding. I'll say a bit about that in a second. The Mount Edgecombe Garden Battery, the Civic Centre, Derryford Hospital, New Homes England housing sites, Babcock enhancements, and Fulston Park, the CDC and CDC2, the Mountbatten Centre and the Embankment Road Leisure Scheme. This is fantastic amount of stuff. Oh, and by the way, the ponds will be finished by then as well. And Armada Way. And what a project that is. And of course, the other bits that are really important is the upcoming announcement on local government reorganisation. And that's going to solidify Plymouth's position, not just as a driving force for the South West economy, but actually as a beacon for world-class public services. We intend to make good on our pledges, not just to the local community, but the government as well. I just wanted to mention, Lord Mayor, that I want to just express my sincere thanks to the exceptional work our staff and wider partners delivered during the recent major incident in Mill Bay, which was titled Operation Fengate. I don't know, perhaps it's the same people who name storms that name these. I don't know who's responsible. But as an organisation, we already have considerable experience in responding to these complex and fast-moving situations. And each time, we become more coordinated, more confident and more effective. But that should never diminish the fact that these incidents are challenging. They're unpredictable and can be incredibly stressful for our residents, for those that are affected and those supporting them. Now, despite the potential volatility of the situation, it was handled with professionalism, calm and compassion. Staff across many teams worked long hours, adapted quickly as circumstances evolved, and supported residents and each other through what was, for many, a very unsettling time. So to those staff, I want to say thank you for your commitment, thank you for your resilience, thank you for the way in which you continue to show up for Plymouth when it matters most. It's a privilege to have you beside us. Thank you, Lord Mayor.
Thank you, Leader. Do any Cabinet members have any announcements? If so, please make it known by raising your hands. Councillor Penberthy.
Thank you, my Lord Mayor. During the recent storms Goretti and Ingrid, the South West has taken severe and destructive batterings. I would like to take this opportunity to assure you that we have experts evaluating the damage done in Plymouth, including to this building, West Pier and Tyneside Bay. Critical repairs have already been done to this building, and other works will be undertaken to remedy damage based on the expert advice that we receive. Thank you.
Councillor Taylor.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. As a society, I think we need to get better at saying thank you and recognising those who do something extraordinary as part of their ordinary day. And so with that in mind, I think I would like to formally commend the staff of Plymouth Active Leisure who were involved in 2 recent major medical incidents that occurred within a month of each other at the Life Centre. On both occasions, the team's rapid response and decisive actions were nothing short of outstanding. Paramedics who attended took the time to contact PAL directly to speak of the professionalism and effectiveness that was demonstrated by the staff there. The attending operations commander paramedic formally commended members of that team who responded to those emergencies, as well as the quality of training that had been delivered and put into practice. During the post-incident debrief, all medical professionals involved had expressed their gratitude for the team's actions and the exceptionally high standard of care delivered. The operations commander paramedic was a member of the Life Centre himself and stated that it gives him great pride and reassurance to see such a high standard of emergency medical response from our local club. This response is a credit not only to those individuals involved, but to the Plymouth Life Centre as a whole. The actions of those staff exemplify the highest standards of life-saving practice, teamwork and public service, and I would just like to acknowledge them at City Council today. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Taylor. Councillor Lang.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. Foster for Plymouth started the new year with a celebration, the launch of our 4th Mockingbird constellation. The Mockingbird programme replicates an extended family approach. Hub home carers provide practical help, emotional support and sleepovers, and foster a community, connections and support that they say feels just like family. The impact in Plymouth over the past 12 months of having these Mockingbird constellations has been transformative for our children, for our young people, and for our carers. And we are delighted to be continuing to expand that programme. On Thursday, I was privileged to open our 3rd annual Fostering Summit. More than 60 of Plymouth's foster carers gathered at Dartmoor Zoo, coming together for a morning designed to celebrate them, provide support, and give them space to learn from each other. Against the backdrop of the zoo's unique setting, the annual Foster for Plymouth Summit created the perfect environment for carers to connect, to reflect, and to share their experiences. And I am just really grateful for the chance to be able to praise our foster carers for the crucial stability and love that they bring to children across the city. You'll see some communications going out today about the fact that we are now the owners of our first children's home for many decades. This is an exciting moment in our programme to ensure that children in our care have access to high quality placements close to Plymouth. And it's a small home. It's going to provide better value for money for the council, but most of all, it's going to be a better environment for our young people. So I'm going to move on to the box. I'm thrilled that the Beryl Cook exhibition launched over the weekend. And I guess we can start talking about something called the Beryl Cook effect. I'm just going to share some stats. From Friday night, we've had 5,000 visits to the box, including 1,750 visits to the Beryl Cook exhibition. Retail sales were up 39% on last weekend. Kitchen and bar up 88% on last weekend. 16,000 tickets have now been booked for the run. And we've also had £9,000 in donations. And you've probably heard about some incredible sculptures that are going up around the city of Beryl Cook characters, so look out for those. And finally, I want to say about the Portrait of May, which is coming to Plymouth on the 14th of February. It's a portrait believed to be of the first Polynesian person to visit this country. And it heads to New York when it leaves Plymouth. It's a Joshua Reynolds painting, and I urge you all to go and see it. Thank you, Lord Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Lang. Councillor Stevens.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. I would like to take this opportunity to update members on the Highways Department's winter-specific activity over the recent times. This has been a time of particularly heavy rain, strong winds, and a 2-day spell of ice. The team has responded to 433 weather-related call-outs, mostly as a result of 5 named storms: Amy, Benjamin, Claudia, Bram, Goretti, and more recently Ingrid. The issues mostly related to localised flooding and fallen trees. Our fleet of gritters, each named by local school children 2 years ago, have been out during the period. Gritney Spears, Buzz Ice Clear, Gritty Gritty Bang Bang, Gerald, Gritmas Prime, Gripey Git and Sir Gristelot carried out 25 runs, 10 of which were primary runs only, and 15 included the secondary runs up to the start of last week. This represents nearly 10,000 miles travelled, of which almost 6,000 miles were salted, 40% of the city's roads. All Plymouth City Council grit bins have been fully restocked, both prior to the winter season and again following the harsh conditions of the start of the year. 826 tonnes of the 1,000 tonnes of salt in store were used and now have been restocked to contractual level. There was a great deal of demand for salt throughout the region, as you can understand. I've passed on my thanks on behalf of everyone here, I hope, and on behalf to the Gritter team for the work they have carried out. Royal Parade improvements go at pace. The work continues and it's looking good if you've walked along there. The foundations for all the bus shelters have now been laid. Several bus shelters have been installed and about 2 a week are going to be installed during the coming weeks. The curb line is now fully laid, paving is complete on the shop side, and the paving team are completing the paving around the shelters once they've been installed. Overnight closures are taking place in January and February for resurfacing work. These works will be in parallel with the completion of the paving, which can't be completed until after the bus shelters have been installed. This information has been publicised through Plymouth City Council comms team, social media, press release and reminders each week. Morgan Sindel will produce another letter which will be handed directly to traders and other key stakeholders such as the theatre, local hotels and city centre manager. And I pay tribute to the traders who've worked really hard during this time. It hasn't been an easy time, but we hope they'll have the bounce of the new Royal Parade improvement soon. In terms of the scheme completion, Morgan Sindel aim to complete their works by Thursday the 19th of February, and it is proposed to open the bus lane on the 9th of February and the full reopening of the bus stops on the 23rd. So we expect to be fully operational on the 23rd of February. That's 6 weeks ahead of the planned completion date. And during that time, we'll arrange a celebration of the completion involving the bus operators and key stakeholders and as many representatives of the businesses as we can. Moving along to, well, staying on buses, you would have all had a survey emailed to you on the 12th of January, members, asking you to complete a ward member survey about bus operations. So please, if you've done it so far, thank you very much. If you haven't, I hope you appreciate this nudge. We survey residents each year and bus operators, and last year we decided to, under Councillor Coker's leadership, consult with ward members about their own personal experience and the experiences shared with them by their ward members about the bus service. And it does make a difference. For example, as a result of last year's survey, we introduced more Sunday services and an extension of the service 1A to Derriford and the 14 and 27. We enhanced the frequency of the service 25 in the city centre and the Barbican, now running until 10 o'clock, until 6, Monday to Saturday, and the continued support was given for the evening services, number 2 to Mountbatten. So please complete that, because your thoughts are as important as anybody else's. And finally, Managing Interchange. You will be aware that Managing A38 Interchange consultation and Plymouth City Council response were published on the 22nd of December, as promised in this chamber. I reiterate my gratitude to all stakeholders and the public who responded to the survey and various drop-ins and provided feedback. Following this piece of work, the next phase is underway of drawing up the next design, and which will be consulted upon widely during the summer of 26. I also thank Councillors Blight, Woods, Penrose and Smith, who arranged for me to meet with residents in Eggbuckland and Compton with their respective MPs during the past few weeks to listen to their views in order to gain helpful information going forward. Thank you, Lord Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Stevens. We just have a couple of minutes left on this item. So do any other Cabinet members or chairs of committees have any announcements? If so, please raise your hands. Thank you. We'll move on then to item 7. Council tax base setting 2026-27 and the Council tax support scheme 2026-27. Councillor Lowry, would you like to introduce the report?
Yes, thank you, Lord Mayor. This report sets out the proposed council tax base of Plymouth City Council for 2026-2027 as required by the relevant local authority regulations. The council tax base is an estimate number of Band D equivalent properties in the city. It is a key part of calculating next year's council tax and takes into account our expected collection rate as well as the impact of discounts and exemptions, including those from the council tax support scheme. It is important to remember that in Plymouth, most households, around 66%, are in the lowest council tax band, that is A and B. For 2026-27, the recommended council tax base is 76,887, which represents a 330 increase compared to last year's figure. The calculation also includes the impact of the second homes and empty homes premium, which together generate approximately over £3 million in additional income. The base also includes the impact of the council tax support scheme, which provides essential help to residents in the lower income brackets. Around 20% of poorer households in Plymouth receive this support. Of these, roughly 1/3 are pensioners and the remaining 2/3 are working age households. Approval of the council tax base today will feed directly into the council tax requirements for 2026-27 and be reported at the full council budget meeting in February. I ask all members to support the recommendations, Lord Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Lowry. Councillor Penberthy, I understand you are seconding the report. Would you like to speak now or reserve your right?
I'd like to reserve my right to speak, Lord Mayor.
Thank you. Anybody else wish to speak? Councillor Nicholson.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. Good afternoon, members. I note from paragraph 4.4 under the council tax support scheme that all councils are required to review the scheme each year, and that we have indeed reviewed the scheme. But it then goes on to say, to make changes to the scheme, the current systems need to be developed to ensure a revised scheme can be administered prior to any public consultation that would need to be undertaken. One would probably assume then that any changes might be beneficial to the public, and it would be therefore disappointing, Lord Mayor, that the systems of the council that could actually provide increased support for the most vulnerable and poor in our local community to help them support their payments to the council for council tax can't be implemented because of the council systems. Perhaps the cabinet member could elaborate as to what these systems issues are and why those systems issues can't be overcome to perhaps provide a more favourable scheme to the poorest in our local community. And I'm sure he's aware, because no doubt the department will tell him, but there have been a number of systems issues, particularly where people pay council tax through standing order rather than direct debit. And really the responses that one gets probably are less than satisfactory, although they resolve the individual issues and the circumstances of the council taxpayer. But I am concerned that we're being asked by the cabinet member, who's an experienced member of this council and indeed an experienced portfolio holder, to accept something where systems prevent us possibly to make positive change. That isn't acceptable, and what steps are being taken to sort the systems out in a more timely manner?
Does anybody else wish to speak? Councillor Wood.
Thank you, my Lord Mayor. Paragraph 4.5 notes that 1 in 5 households in Plymouth receive council tax support. It would be useful to know how this compares to our statistical neighbours. Perhaps when the cabinet member sums up, he would be able to provide us information. If not, perhaps by writing.
Does anybody else wish to speak? Councillor Penberthy, do you wish to sum up? Wish to speak?
Thank you, Lord Mayor, and I'll pick up both of those issues because they actually sit in my portfolio, not in Councillor Lowry's. Council tax support scheme is very heavily regulated by legislation. That means that to make a change next year, we would have had to have consulted last year. There is at least a 12-month lead-in. When you consult, you have to consult on a fully modelled and worked up scheme. So you can't say, we think we might do this or we think we might do that. We have to say, we are consulting on a scheme and here are the regulations, which can run to 100 pages or more. That's very technical. To do that, we need to do modelling and we would need to have a system in place to deal with it. Our current system is based on income bandings rather than exact incomes, and linked to specific benefits. There has been substantial change in the last year to the way that DWP have worked. We could not have modelled a scheme for the coming year based on the lack of system around all of that and understanding what all of those changes would have meant to a lot of people in Plymouth. For those of working age, 95% of council tax claimants have seen substantial changes to their DWP systems in the last year. We could not have modelled that, and the impact would have been enormous if we'd got it wrong, and the guidance would have left a system in chaos. We have to get this right. This isn't just about the technical system, it's actually about the rules that govern a complex piece of benefit, and we are looking at what that means going forward. We do not want to disadvantage people in Plymouth, and we are aware that there are a lot of people in Plymouth for whom this scheme is really, really important within the cost of living environment. So we're sensitive about how we do that. We're not going to jump at something. We're not going to do something that disadvantages people. In terms of our statistical neighbours, we are about the same. It's, you know, the schemes are all slightly different. They offer slightly different discounts, slightly different exemptions, because they're all locally modelled based on local need. But we're about the same. And actually, a third of the scheme is totally beyond our control anyway, because for pensioners, the government set the rules, we have to pay the bills. So we are talking about a real mixed environment here. I would hasten to say, we are not proposing a budget now that says we're going to scrap the scheme. Interestingly, some are. And if you live in Durham at the moment and you're not a pensioner, you're about to lose your council tax support because the new Reform Council has said that is their intention. We're not going to do that. We're going to continue to seek to support the people in the city who need it most and use this sensitively as we do that. We will be reflecting over the coming months on the impact of all of the DWP changes and what that means, as well as the demographic changes in the city. But our council tax support base has actually gone down slightly in terms of claimants who are working age, and has gone up slightly in terms of pensioners. That's both in terms of claimants and amounts. So it's staying about the same overall, and we're just seeing a demographic change in how we spend the money. On that basis, I'm really happy to support what we are saying, which is we're going to go forward as is and consider what changes we might need to make over the next year, as we do every year. Lord Mayor, I formally second this motion.
Thank you, Councillor Penberthy. Councillor Lowry, would you like to sum up, please?
Thank you, Lord Mayor. I'm grateful for Councillor Penberthy's clarity on the subject matter in respect to the council tax support scheme. Is entirely right. The council tax support scheme will stay exactly as it is for this year, and we will undertake a review in the coming financial year. And it's really important to recognise that an awful lot of local authority are now removing this support to those who need it most. We, as a local authority, are keeping that scheme in place and providing that additional support to those households that need it. So I'm very grateful for Councillor Penberthy's contribution, and I ask members to support the recommendations. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Lowry. We'll move to the vote now. Please vote using the buttons on your keypad. The motion is carried. I now move to item number 8, Pay Policy Statement 2026 to 27. Councillor Taylor, would you like to introduce the report?
Thank you, Lord Mayor. Not the most glamorous first report to bring to Council, but an important one all the same, as it is a report that seeks to approve the Council's pay policy statement for 26-27. The Localism Act 2011 requires every council to prepare a pay policy statement by the 31st of March each year for the following financial year for approval by City Council. It sets out information about remuneration and council policies for chief officers, which under this definition is inclusive of the head of the paid service and also compares highest paid employee with the lowest paid employees. To address low pay, the council introduced the principles of the foundation living wage by adding a discretionary non-contractual market supplement in 2014. The council will continue to pay this real living wage at the increased rate of £13.45 per hour from the 1st of April 2026, which is a top-up of 60p per hour from the NJC lowest paid employees on grade A. The 2025 National Pay Award removed the lowest pay point on the pay structure, increasing the lowest pay to an hourly rate of £12.85 until the 2026 Pay Award is known. To implement the removal of Spinal Point 2, the council's pay structure has been changed for grade A and B, with the Spinal Point 3 now grade A and Spinal Point 4 now grade B. Hopefully you're all keeping up. It is incredibly important for me and for this administration that we recognise that we would not be able to do what we do without the hard work of our staff at every level of this organisation. Those who clean our streets, who look after our vulnerable residents, who collect our waste, who staff our contact centre, or who undertake one of the 2,500 roles in this organisation which support people in Plymouth. Pay is a large part of that, and I'm pleased to see not only another pay point being removed from the lowest end of our structure, but also the ratio between our highest and lowest paid employees reduce again this year. I therefore propose the Council approves this pay policy statement for 26-27, which includes the approval of the Council's NJC pay structure. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Taylor. Councillor Evans, I understand you are seconding the report. Would you like to speak now or reserve your right?
I'll go now, Lord Mayor. I'd like to second the paper and provide my support to the pay policy statement. And to reiterate what Councillor Taylor said, our continued commitment to paying the real living wage, not the pretend one that George Osborne introduced, to those staff who are paid less than that, as well as continued reduction in the ratio between the highest and lowest paid members of staff, is a real commitment to reducing inequality. So I second the proposal and hope the Council approves the pay policy statement for 26-27.
Thank you, Councillor Evans. Does anybody else wish to speak? Councillor Taylor, would you like to sum up?
I think I'm happy to just go to the vote, Lord Mayor.
Thank you. I propose we go to the vote using your keypads. Motion is carried. I move to item 9, extension of designation of section 151 officer. Councillor Evans, I believe you're introducing the report.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. The section 151 role is a statutory function and has got to be filled. David Northey has led the process to set a budget for next year, and I welcome his willingness to remain with us. He's had several goes at leaving, so he's willing to stay on a bit longer till we recruit a permanent 151. So we need to formally extend his period so that we've still got a 151 and we're all legal. So I hope everybody's happy with that.
Councillor Lowry, I understand that you are seconding the report. Would you like to speak now or reserve your right?
Reserve my right. Thank you, Lord Mayor.
Does anybody else wish to speak? Okay. Councillor Evans, would you like to sum up?
I think we've said enough on this matter.
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Evans. Then we'll move to the vote using your keypads. The motion is passed. Right. So we move to item 10, Committee Calendar 2026-27. Councillor Evans, would you like to introduce the report?
Thank you, Lord Mayor. I'm pleased to introduce the proposed committee calendar for the upcoming municipal year. The calendar has been developed to ensure that council business is planned in a clear, coordinated and efficient way, allowing members, officers and the public to have full visibility of our decision-making timetable. In preparing this schedule, we have focused on aligning meeting dates to support effective governance, timely scrutiny and a smooth progression of reports through the formal processes. The proposed calendar aims to balance operational needs with the practical considerations of members, ensuring that our committees can carry out their responsibilities in a structured and accessible manner. I propose this calendar to Council and invite members to support its adoption so we can move forward with a well-organised framework for the year ahead.
Thank you, Councillor Evans. Councillor Aspinall, I understand you are seconding the report. Would you like to speak now or reserve your right?
I'll speak now, Lord Mayor. Thank you very much. This might seem one of those jobs that somebody has to do simply to keep us all happy, but I would commend Hannah and the team for doing this because it isn't the easiest thing in the world. Even with that, saying that, there are still 2 meetings sometimes in the calendar on the same day. So please look at the dates, and once you know who your chairs are, etc., do make sure that any hiccups of 2 meetings in one day are mentioned, and the team can then look into it and sort. Of course, any chair of the committee can alter the time. It's just, if we have to alter this too much, we'll all be in chaos. So Hannah and the team, thank you very much. And I commend this to be accepted.
Thank you, Councillor Aspinall. Does anybody else wish to speak? Councillor Evans, would you like to sum up?
Thanks. Move to the vote, please.
And move to the vote then, please, using your keypads. The motion is carried. Thank you. I move to item 11A, motions on notice. And the first notice is prioritising Plymouth residents in council housing. Councillor Ricketts, would you like to introduce the motion?
Thank you, my Lord Mayor. Good afternoon, Council. I bring you this motion, prioritising Plymouth residents in council housing. Plymouth has, like the rest of the country, a housing crisis. 7,768 households are on the social housing waiting list in Plymouth. 443 households are living in temporary accommodation in Plymouth. Local people are stuck in unsustainable accommodation, waiting what can seem like forever, years, for a permanent home. And yet, the government wants to divert us away from these local issues to house asylum seekers via this pilot scheme. A response, in part, mainly, to the small boats crisis, which is something everybody in this country is talking about. 800 arrived last week, breaking into our country. 65,000 people have come on small boat since this Labour government was elected in July the 4th, 2024. 37,000 are in hotel accommodation. The vast majority undocumented young men. Let's be clear, this pilot scheme will take housing from Plymouth people to cover this national failure, prolonging hotel use and adding huge costs to our city. We don't have spare homes, funds or capacity for this. Local families are already in crisis. We cannot wait, and they cannot wait any longer while this government relies on us to patch its lack of action on border control. This motion draws a line that Plymouth will prioritise its own residents first, a basic concept. We call on the government to end hotel use and not take homes from local people. The message is simple. Plymouth residents come first. And this madness will only end when this government takes proper action on the small boats crisis. I hope you'll support this motion today. Thank you, Lord Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Ney. I understand that you are seconding the motion. Do you wish to speak now or reserve your right?
Thank you, Lord Mayor. I'd like to speak now, please. I'm supporting Councillor Rickett's motion today as it addresses concerns of many Plymouth residents. It's desperate times at the moment in Plymouth. We know there are over 7,000 people waiting for homes on Devon Home Choice, and I expect every councillor in this room knows of somebody who is waiting in temporary accommodation for a place that they can call home. Just last week, I received a message from someone in my ward telling me there were 650 people bidding in Plymouth on a one-bedroom flat, and they were bid number 266. How do I respond to people in that situation? With the promise of 10,000 homes in the city of Plymouth being built, one would hope that our Plymouth residents are prioritised over some half-baked government scheme. Thank you, Lord Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Ney. Does anybody else wish to speak? Councillor Leveridge?
Lord Mayor, is it all right if I stay seated? I've hurt my back, unfortunately. Is that okay? Okay, so why should people outside our city be housed when our own people are not? That is not a question of hatred, and it's not a question of compassion. It's a question of fairness. Every single one of us knows someone who is struggling with young families and they're stuck in one-bedroom flats. Elderly people waiting years for suitable housing. People born and raised here, paying their taxes all their lives and still being told, wait their turn. And yet somehow the council can find hotels and hostels and accommodation overnight for others. Oh, sorry, my Lord Mayor. So the real question is, why has the council failed our own people for so long? We call upon Plymouth City Council to refuse participation in any government pilot scheme for asylum housing and instead prioritise its time funding the housing stock for people who already live in Plymouth and are not on our local waiting list. Plymouth cannot take on additional national responsibilities while local needs remain unmet. To the Labour administration, I would say this is time to stop ignoring the reality on the ground. We have a housing crisis affecting our own residents, and we cannot afford to bury our heads in the sand. We must prioritise our local people for housing and stand together in calling on central government to take responsibilities for national asylum policies, rather than passing the burden onto local councils. Thank you, my Lord Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Leveridge. Councillor Penberthy.
Thank you, my Lord Mayor. Once again, as in recent meetings, I rise to respond to a motion on notice that is based on some erroneous information. We did not accept the opportunities highlighted by Councillor Ricketts and May to participate in government pilots to refurbish void and below standard council housing stock, or to convert council-owned commercial premises to council housing, or to build new council housing to add to our council housing stock, and to initially lease these to the Home Office for use as part of the decant from hotels being used to house asylum seekers before becoming part of general needs housing stock. Councillor Ricketts seems to have conveniently forgotten some facts from when he was part of the administration that proposed and enacted the stock transfer to Plymouth Community Homes, meaning that we no longer have any council housing stock, and the resultant closure of our housing revenue account that would have paid for any further council housing stock. He subsequently held the housing portfolio, where he would have had to work with the implications of this decision, so should understand these. On that basis, there is one simple reason for us not asking to participate in these pilots. We do not have any council housing or a housing revenue account to qualify for the support. Considering local facts, rather than believing a Mail Online article, might be helpful before drafting a motion. Additionally, Councillor Ricketts and May should be aware that our existing housing allocation prioritises local connection, as well as having exemptions that are nationally agreed for some people, including veterans and victims of domestic violence, all of which are managed through Devon Home Choice Partnership. And Lord Mayor, I support those exemptions to local connection for veterans and victims of domestic abuse. I think every single one of us in the council should support exemptions to local connection. Lord Mayor, to put it bluntly, we do not have any council housing. We did not apply for the pilots referred to, and we already prioritise local connection in our housing allocation. It appears that we have another instance of misinformation and scaremongering by a minority of councillors taking up time in this chamber. Lord Mayor, it is never wise to totally rule out any future participation in government pilots without understanding what the government is asking for and the resources that the government is prepared to put behind delivering them. Nor, at a point where we are negotiating with government for substantial investment in the city, is it sensible or politically advisable to write to a minister to tell them that we're not going to work with them. Therefore, Lord Mayor, we cannot support this motion.
Thank you, Councillor Penberthy. Councillor Krisnak. Does anybody else wish to speak? Councillor, would you like to speak? Riley, sorry.
I guess, I don't know, I'm a bit nervous here. I think if we talk about compassion and we say that we're not being led with hate, but we're using the words illegals and small boats and undocumented and mostly men, I think then we're absolutely leading with hate. And I'm quite sad, actually, that we're here in this position talking about human beings like they are horrible, terrible things. That's not okay. That's not what we're here for. And actually, I, in my role, work with many young women who have come from other countries. So I'm quite passionate about this. I will be saying no. And I think we need to really watch our language here because people are listening. Young people are listening to us in this room when we're talking about people. I think it's absolutely vital that we hold organisations and this council to account when we are talking about housing people who are worse off than the rest of us. But by minimising someone to the colour of their skin or where they come from is just not acceptable, and I will not put my name to it.
Thank you, Councillor Riley. Does anybody else wish to speak? Councillor Ricketts, would you like to sum up?
Thank you, Lord Mayor. Myself and colleagues speak for the nation. We speak for the people of Plymouth. Well, you need to get out more, and I think you need to get out more. I think you'll find out on May the 7th what the feeling is in local communities about your appalling border control that this government is presiding over. And actually, a motion to put the people of Plymouth first is perfectly logical and sound, and anything else would seem illogical. These pilot schemes that 198 councils have signed up for is something that we don't wish to join in with. So we need to put that on record. Anything, Lord Mayor, anything is possible with this Labour government. Anything is possible with this Labour council. So we want to make sure that every precaution has been taken, that we do not get involved in any of these pilot schemes now or moving forward. The idea that the government would help build council houses not for local people is outrageous, genuinely outrageous. And basically, Plymouth people, local people, must be prioritised for local housing. And we do not want to pay for these absurd schemes that the government are proposing through this pilot route. So, especially with the backdrop in Plymouth, I mean, basically, they're proceeding over the worst house building programme on record, bar 1 year, since Plymouth City Council was created. And unfortunately, the government has done an £809,000 reduction for homelessness in Plymouth. So with that backdrop, I believe to just confirm that we won't be involved or bidding for these pilot schemes now or moving forward, and a letter from our cabinet member to government to that effect is perfectly logical. I hope you support this motion. Thank you, Lord Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Ricketts. We'll now move to the vote using your keypads. Right, the motion is lost. Now, council members, we can have a break now if you wish, or we can carry on with questions. You carry on? Is that the feeling of the meeting? Yeah, okay. We'll carry on then. We'll carry on with questions. Can I invite members to ask any questions of the leader, cabinet members or committee chairs, please? Right. Councillor Rainsford.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. My question is to Councillor Stevens. Councillor Stevens, I've received this petition, nearly 1,000 signatures, organised by the businesses in Southside Street, covering a whole range of issues: parking, speeding, noise of motor vehicles. I've been meeting with a lot of the residents and the other parties to try and improve the area by trying to persuade the cyclists and others to behave more responsibly. I know that you and council officers, as well as the police, are all talking about this issue. Can you tell me whether or not we're making any progress?
Lord Mayor, thank you, Councillor Rainsford, for your question. And I just want to recognise in the Chamber your diligence in working with the local residents and the businesses along Southside Street and onto the Barbican to discuss their concerns about their neighbourhood. I valued a site visit with you and Councillor Penberthy not so long ago to witness their concerns about antisocial vehicle noise, selfish parking, convoys of motorcycles and so on. And that selfish parking was also preventing the journeys of buses, taxis, cars, which held up lots of people, sometimes for up to 25 minutes in the pinch points. So subsequently, I've arranged for you and Councillor Penberthy and Alison to meet with parking officers and myself next month to consider your residents and businesses' concerns, to work out how we can bring an end to this ongoing situation, which is particularly troublesome during the summer months and busy days. So maybe signage or parking arrangement tweaks could work. And afterwards, it'll be helpful for me to meet with some representatives of that community to discuss what is feasible. I also recognise the communication Councillor Penberthy has had with the police, including the Police and Crime Commissioner, whose ultimate responsibility it is for alleviating the antisocial vehicle disturbances in what is not just a popular street in your ward, but a jewel in our city's crown of streets.
Do you have a supplementary?
Thank you, Lord Mayor. I'd like to thank Councillor Stevens on behalf of my colleagues, Councillor Allison and Councillor Penberthy, for the work that I know you're trying to put in place to improve things. And I would like to take you up on the offer potentially of a meeting, both with the local councillors, but also some of those affected.
Councillor Noble.
Well, thank you, my Lord Mayor. This is a question for Councillor Stevens. The widening of the A386, or Tavistock Road as it's also known, has been long anticipated by residents. What has been learned from phase 1 that we can use to enable phase 2 to be completed or progress as smoothly? Thank you.
Lord Mayor, thank you, Councillor Noble, for your question. And like you, I attended one of the information sessions at the Widewell Community Centre last week when we had a chance to meet with the engagement team from the project team and City Council to discuss how phase 2 will develop. The team there told me that when residents visited, and there weren't as many as the first phase, and partly that's because having gone through the first phase, which was finished, even though it was delayed, it was finished under budget. Phase 2 will actually be informed by lots of the good communication that took place with residents in and around the Widewell area. And we have to recognise that it did cause a great disturbance for many people, not just in the area, but travelling through the area. But now people have seen phase 1 and it's kind of working, it's tweaked. They are pleased that some of the concerns of local residents have been taken into account, such as altering signalling, altering some what do you call them?
Traffic lights?
No, not the same. I've got a word down here, I should remember. You can guess if you like, we've got loads of time. Contraflows, that's it. Contraflows. At one time, cyclists were asked to dismount in a 30-mile-an-hour contraflow. The team had representations from the cycling community, and they agreed for cyclists to travel in the same progression as cars, as it was safe to do so. So I'm really pleased that the team has worked on this. It's taken 45 years for us to get to this stage. So there are lots of young drivers in the city at the time who were looking forward to driving safely and more conveniently through Widewell, who are now probably approaching their bus pass 40 years later. But we're really pleased that it's working ahead. The phase 2 will start soon, and I want to thank you and pass on my thanks to residents in Moorview and the surrounding areas for their forbearance during this work, but it will make a big difference to travellers north and south of the city. And I'm pleased the Labour Council is investing in transport infrastructure in the north. Thank you.
Do you have a supplementary, Councillor Dingle?
Thank you, my Lord Mayor. My question is to Councillor Lang, I'm really excited about our bid to become UK City of Culture 2029. Could you share what sector engagement and community involvement has already happened and what is planned before the expression of interest deadline on the 8th of February?
Thank you, Councillor Dingle. So we've had 2 sector briefings so far, attended by 175 people, and they've proved so popular that we're putting on a 3rd this week, and 125 people have signed up to that, and there's already a waiting list. More than 50 people went to the drop-in session at Saltram yesterday, and there are 2 upcoming sessions, one at the Beacon in North Prospect on Friday 30th of January from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. Thank you to Plymouth Community Homes, and one at Drake Circus this coming Saturday from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. So there will have been at least one of those drop-ins in each constituency. And on top of that, our partners, including Scrap Store, 12 Wellbeing Hubs, Barbican Theatre, Waterfront Partnership, Destination Plymouth, Elder Tree, Park Crematorium Cafe, Arts University of Plymouth, Photo Now, Real Ideas, are also holding either drop-in sessions or they have information about how people can share their thoughts about this really, really exciting bid. I really hope that everybody in the chamber is going to get behind this bid because it's incredibly exciting and it could mean a great deal for Plymouth and for Plymothians. And finally, if people are unable to attend any of the sessions, they can email us with their thoughts and ideas at cityofculture@plymouth.gov.uk. Please get behind the bid. Thank you.
Councillor Niggle, do you have a supplementary?
No further questions, Lord Mayor.
Councillor Bridgman.
Thank you, my Lord Mayor. My question's to the leader. I mean, welcome back. You were missed. I can't wait for you to be back on form again and punching away like you usually do. It's been over 6 months since I asked you about Plymouth Airport. Is there any update at all, please? Thank you, Lord Mayor.
There have been discussions going on with all parties, nothing of which I can publicly talk about for reasons that I've previously said. But we continue to be resolute in arguing for the return of Plymouth Airport to City Council control.
You have a supplementary, Councillor Bridgman? Thank you. Councillor Krisnack.
Thank you, my Lord Mayor. This question is for the Councillor Stevens. Burial bikes are used by public across the city. A number of these bikes end up left on pedestrian across where they pose a safety problem for pedestrians. What measures is Council taking to get these bikes off the streets to ensure safety of our residents?
Thank you for your question, Councillor Krzyżanacz. Barrel bikes are popular in the city centre. They're very busy during student times and so on, and the average time takes about 1.5 miles from the users. But at times when barrel bike users get to the end destination, there aren't enough docking spaces in place for them to place the barrel bike. So what we do have, there are 2 options. We have a team working for Beryl who tour around the city to check on the individual docking stations. If there are bikes but insufficient stations, they'll relocate them. If bikes need some repairs, there's a company that will instantly do that. So what I will do is chase that up with a company to check that that is happening as regularly as we expect. And equally, at each docking station, there's an email number and a phone number for you to report to the Beryl support team. Beryl's getting a lot of mention today. There's a big Beryl bounce in the city. So Beryl bikes can be fixed if you report them. Thank you. But I do understand that it can be unsightly when you see Beryl bikes just left abandoned. Thank you.
Councillor Christian, no? Councillor Tippett.
Thank you, my Lord Mayor. My question is for Councillor Stevens. Seeing you're getting a lot today. The implementation of the 60-mile-an-hour zone through the city has been welcome. However, there's been some concerns raised with me that the signage isn't always as clear when approaching it. I approached it myself last night, driving back from the Midlands, and I myself felt that it wasn't completely clear, even though I knew as a councillor exactly where it was. Would it be possible for you to work with National Highways to improve the clarity of the signs, including maybe having some signs saying new speed limit ahead, just to give drivers the extra chance to slow down to help them drive as safely as possible? Thank you.
Lord Mayor, thank you, Councillor Tippers, for that helpful question and your observations. What I will do, I'll chat with you after this meeting to identify the locations you're concerned about and relay that back to National Highways. I too had some feedback from residents on Saturday who live nearby who sensed, obviously we're waiting for the data yet and the evidence, sensed that it has been quieter in places and traffic is smooth. There will always be snarl-ups with traffic. It's a busy road, but people kind of accepted the reduction in speed and welcome it. But I'll be happy to chat to you and take your concern further. Thank you.
Councillor, no supplement. Councillor Wood.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. This is for Councillor Evans. The Tamar Bridge and Tall Point Ferry is forecasting to lose £500,000 per year on average over the next 5 years, depleting the remaining reserves. The Tamar Bridge and Tall Point Ferry Joint Committee voted unanimously in favour of my proposal for the joint chairs to write to our local MPs and the Secretary of State for Transport, requesting that the government introduces a Devon and Cornwall infrastructure revenue grant of £500,000 per annum to support for Tamar crossings. Is the administration actively supporting this request?
Not really a matter for me, I don't think. I mean, to be honest, I hadn't heard of your proposal. Would you mind if you sent me some details of your motion that you put through, and I'll consider it. I do know that the MPs are actively seeking the ear of government on Tamar Bridge matters generally.
Sorry, Councillor Patrick Nicholson.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. My question's for Councillor Penberthy. On Wednesday of last week, I learnt for the first time of a press release published by the City Council about the disposal of land for £7.3 million at West Park Hill, adjacent to the Plymouth St Mary ward, a site of which I've been very familiar with over many, many years. In the press release, Councillor Penberthy is quoted, and within the content of the press release is that the farmland will continue to be used as farmland. Could you give an assurance that, notwithstanding that part of the site isn't actually farmland but used by a resident of the Plymouth St Mary ward to keep horses, that the continuing use by the farmer and the owner of the horses will continue prior to any development commencing by Homes England?
Lord Mayor, we're not the owner of the site. We can't make any assumptions about how Homes England will choose to manage it.
Well, whereas a supplementary, given the fact that the Constitution requires openness and transparency, could Councillor Penberthy either tell us in this chamber or write to Plymouth St Mary councillors with the conditions of sale?
I will seek legal advice about whether conditions of sale are available to be sent, because obviously those are legal documents, not necessarily documents in the public domain.
Councillor Loveridge.
My question is to Councillor Larry. What is the total level of council debt and how has it changed over the last 5 years?
All those papers were published last week in the budget scrutiny exercise. They're also published in the Treasury Management documentation that was also presented to the committee last week, and all that information is available online. But from the top of my head, the current debt as of today is about £709 million. Obviously, that's increased in certain years, and as I've explained on numerous occasions, this council made considerable investments and considerable purchases and building real estate and housing and business parks over the last 5 years. We borrowed that money at very preferential rates, sometimes as low as 0.5%, and we've used that money to buy and build assets, which I'm incredibly proud of as what we've done as a local authority, and has proven to provide us with tremendous benefit both financially and in respect of employment. And as I continue to say, the debt of this council is within the realms of other local authorities, and I refer to our debt as being good debt because it's effectively a mortgage, and we're using that debt to create jobs and provide revenue to the council.
Thank you, Councillor Larry. Can I have a supplementary, please, my Lord Mayor? So how much interest is the council paying annually on this debt?
Once again, Lord Mayor, that information is available in the documentation that was published last week. It is available online for you to see, and it's in comparison to our net revenue budget, and it's somewhere in the region of about £17 million.
Councillor McNamara.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. My question is for Councillor Lang. Could you tell us when the Efford Youth Centre is going to reopen to the public? It looks quite ready to go from the outside.
Well, thank you for your question. So Efford Youth Centre and also Honeyknoll Youth Centre will hold a soft launch on Friday the 6th of February, which will be followed by a managed partial opening. During this initial phase, which will begin on the 9th of February, we will welcome small groups of young people into the buildings to complete essential National Youth Agency and Youth Investment Fund participative feedback. This ensures that young people have the final say on the design, layout and operations before we move to a full public opening shortly afterwards. And I think everybody is going to be blown away by the work, and we thank everybody for their patience because we want it to be perfect before they open. Thank you, Lord Mayor.
Councillor Rainsford.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. My question was to Councillor Hayden, but it will have to be delegated to the leader, I think. And it's on the back of an extremely well-attended run organised by Run Like a Girl and This Girl Can, to highlight the safety of women who want simply to run in our city to improve their well-being and mental health. Abuse and catcalling is not acceptable, and for some it can be really scary. Can he tell me, therefore, what the council are doing to improve safety, enhance lighting and CCTV, because safety is a basic right, and too many women and girls don't feel safe and can't exercise without carefully planning their route, and that's not acceptable.
The event you referred to, Councillor Rainsford, I think you were there actually, weren't you? Along with Jemima and our MP Luke Pollard. The presence highlighted the ongoing work taking place across Plymouth to keep our residents safe. Since then, councillors and council officers have continued to work closely with the event organisers to listen to their concerns, whilst also raising awareness of the wide range of safety measures and interventions already in place across the city, which include the Safe Bus, taxi marshals, help points, Plymouth City pastors, pub watch, and best bar and accredited venues. Plymouth has also achieved the Purple Flag accreditation for its 6th year, demonstrating its commitment to safety within the evening and nighttime economy. Looking ahead, Trebi's annual Reclaim the Night March will take place on the 6th of February, providing another important opportunity to shine a light on women's safety in Plymouth and reaffirm our collective commitment to tackling violence against women and girls. Regards to CCTV and street lighting, there is a 24/7 CTV operations centre with close links to the police, with the following infrastructure in place: 31,676 streetlights, 196 cameras, 13 safe space help points. All new lighting installations have been installed to BS5489, ensuring compliant and effective installation. 99% now are benefiting from LED technology that reduces energy consumption and reduces carbon emissions. Our central management system allows for remote fault detection, and approximately 33% of the city benefit from this arrangement, designed to minimise the period of time late in installation is inoperative. Full city conversion to CMS is expected to be achieved in 2026. I just wanted to highlight again, some of you will have seen the Armada Way installations that we put in place last week, which again are designed to literally shine a light in that area of the north to improve and promote safety at night.
Councillor Taylor.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. Councillor Ricketts talked earlier of housing our own first, but I understand, sorry, my question is for Councillor Lang. I understand he objected at budget scrutiny to family homes being purchased in his ward to house the city's most vulnerable children. What does she think about that?
Thank you for that question. I mean, I have to say there was something a bit galling about hearing Councillor Ricketts earlier saying that local people must be prioritised, because at budget scrutiny he did publicly object to what he called family homes in his ward being bought by this council to create family homes for children in our care. Children, by the way, for whom he and all of us are corporate parents. So his words that we should put Plymouth people first ring somewhat hollow. Or perhaps it doesn't include children. So in answer to your question, those are my thoughts.
Thank you, Councillor Lang. My supplementary is only to ask, if you mentioned corporate parenting, perhaps Councillor Ricketts or any other councillor who don't understand their responsibilities as corporate parents could do with a refresher.
I think that's a very good point. I don't know if sometimes councillors don't understand actually the enormity of the role of being a corporate parent, and maybe we can put on extra training or a briefing session about what that means. I know many councillors in this chamber take that responsibility incredibly seriously, but we could all do with a reminder every now and then of what an important, enormous part of our role as councillors, looking after the children in our care, is. Thank you.
Councillor Ricketts.
Thank you, my Lord. Lord Mayor, I'm disappointed by that, really. It's a bit childish, considering the mechanics of council. It's a complicated subject, and I was there to challenge the budget, and I felt that £2 million for
Can you raise a
children
question,
was
please,
something
Councillor
that should-
Ricketts?
Thank you, my Lord Mayor. On another note, and we'll come back to that discussion at the appropriate forum. My question,
Is your
Lord
point
Mayor,
of order?
He was asked specifically to ask the question, and he's debating something that is nothing of a question.
Yes. Oh, well, I stopped him doing that and I asked him to raise the question. Councillor Ricketts, would you please raise your question?
Thank you, my Lord Mayor. We'll come back to that issue at the appropriate forum. My question is to Councillor Stevens. Are you data-led when making decisions on traffic flow and pedestrian crossings in Plymouth?
Lord Mayor, thank you, Councillor. That's an interesting idea. We just go round and officers go around thinking nice zebra crossing being nice there, bit of lights to lighten up the street. We are. Everything we do is based on evidence. It's based on evidence within the City Council Highways Department, based on evidence collated by and communicated by local ward councillors. In terms of highways, the police have a significant issue, and that is why Vision South West is a key body for us with Devon and Cornwall Police, road safety work. So yes, in an answer, yes.
Thank you, Councillor Stevens. I'm confused then at why you've allocated funds to a new pedestrian operation at the bottom of Mutley Plain or North Hill, which was installed by the Labour Council over 10 years ago, with not one single incident on it. Not a single accident has occurred. But you want to allocate funds because a load of your Labour colleagues are petitioning at the bottom of Mutley Plain. Now, it's completely unacceptable that you're doing that, and you clearly are not data-led, and you need to review how you're operating as a department.
You've run out of time, Councillor Ricketts, I'm afraid, and it wasn't a question. We'll move on. Councillor Wood.
Thank you, my Lord Mayor. This is for Councillor Stevens. I am concerned that without sensible changes to the Manadon Roundabout project, the Council's stated aims will not be achieved. In my opinion, the scheme needs to be expanded to include the traffic light sequencing along Outland Road and Tavistock Road, and the effectiveness of existing junctions thoroughly investigated. Without a proper, joined-up traffic management scheme, which runs the length of Outland Road to Millhouse, at Milehouse, and up to Tavistock Road to a Derriford roundabout, the Council may be risking £150 million of taxpayers' money. Scope changes between an outline business case and a full business case are common. Indeed, this happened when the Council introduced the proposals for new traffic lights across Crown Hill Road. So will you now reassess the scheme, ensure it is fit for purpose and evidence-led? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Woods, for your question. I'll give you the same answer I gave you at the meeting we did in Buckland, just in case you've forgotten. Regarding Outland Road and Ham Drive is a snarl-up. It's an area that would obviously concern everybody who's in this room about the amount of time, volume of traffic that gets through those junctions. But a large intervention at the signals along Outland Road is not within the scope of the scheme. The scheme is funded as the A38 Manadon interchange within that vicinity. However, the Council is aware of the issues raised, and as I told you, Plymouth City Council will look into the review of the design of the improvements to see if anything can be made within the scope leading to Outland Road, Ham Drive and Morrison junctions. It is an area that's on the radar of the Council Highways officers, and that will be part of the looking at it again. But the funding for Manadon is particularly for that locality around Manadon interchange. Not with said, we'll continue to look at traffic flow north and south of that interchange. Thank you.
Councillor Nicholson.
Very much indeed, Lord Mayor. My questions to the Leader of the Council. Councillor Evans, welcome back, and hope the next few months continue to make progress. My question is the approach by your Cabinet. Now, we have Councillor Stevens and Councillor Briarsdale in particular, who consult with ward members on matters that affect their wards, and we're only this week going to be attending Prince Rock to find out more about the implementation of food waste collection. So do you think all your Cabinet members, where there's significant matters that affect the residents of individual wards, should consult ward members or not?
It depends, doesn't it, on the scheme?
So the Plymouth and St Mary ward, as I alluded to earlier, is potentially to be affected by 500, 550 homes, may or may not have a primary school. The decision was made for which Councillor Penberthy is quoted in the press last week. There was no consultation, no advance notice to members affected by the potential of that development. Do you think that's the right way that Councillor Penberthy should continue to act? Because it's not the first time that he totally dismisses the role of a ward councillor on this city council.
The land is in South Hams, it's our land, but I mean, are you seriously suggesting that we have to consult on and have a referendum on every land sale that we do? There will be a moment, I think, for the voice of citizens in your part of the world to have their say when a planning application comes forward. I would expect that there would be plenty of opportunity at that point, and I would expect you, as an experienced former leader of the council, to be encouraging local residents to make their views known on that. Who knows? I mean, post LGR, it may be our planning committee determining that in that application, or it may be still with the South Hams. We're not quite sure about the timescale of that. But I would encourage you to encourage your residents to make their views known.
Councillor Crisnock.
Thank you, my Lord Mayor. I and my colleagues recently visited Cumdin School in our ward, and the head teacher praised the local authority in terms of SEND support. What specifically do you feel has been key in bringing about this positive response, especially when we are having so much about SEND in the news? Councillor Creswell.
Thank you very much, Councillor. That's really very gratifying to hear that report from Coomdean School. And you all know that we had a monitoring inspection visit from Ofsted CQC, which was at the end of November, beginning of December last year. And a report will be on the Ofsted website next week, so I can't say any more at the moment. However, I think this positive response will come down to actually a variety of things. So first of all, the special educational needs leadership of the council, and I'd say working with heads, with our schools, with Senkos, with wider partners, has created a really exceptional partnership. The working with parents and carers on things like co-production has helped to really build confidence. Resources such as the GATI, which is the Graduated Approach to Inclusion, which was created by the local authority SEND team, has also been very positive. The targeted funding model, which has been devolved into schools, putting provision for 380 to have good provision within and staying within our mainstream schools, and so meeting need. A culture of openness and transparency, fostering good relationships with our schools and heads, never underestimate relationships. Clear political commitment to SEND direction, which is actually, I would say, has been right across this chamber, and the external support we have had for SEND from the Improvement Board. Finally, a bit of a thank you to Coomdean and all of our schools, because actually this work has come about through all the hard work and the work that's happened to improve special educational needs right across our city, and the work that's been done with parents and carers each and every day, and the hard work of our schools. So thank you very much indeed.
Councillor Matt Smith.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. I just want to pick up on something else that Councillor Ricketts said earlier about supposedly the Labour government reducing the allowance that we're getting for homelessness. My understanding is that we've got an uplift on last year, so maybe Councillor Penberthy could just clarify that for us.
I'm very happy to, and I'm really glad that in my pile of papers I have my briefing notes from budget scrutiny last week, because Councillor Ricketts actually raised this question at scrutiny last week, and I was happy to answer him then, and I'm happy to repeat the information now. For many years, budget scrutiny has asked government to stop doing small bits of homelessness funding ad hoc, quite often without continuity between key bits like the homelessness prevention grant and the rough sleeper prevention and recovery grant. So it was really difficult for delivery. Last year, the government gave us 1 year funding and gave us an additional fund, which for ease of administration, they put into the same pot rather than giving us a separate grant. That extra funding was an extra £856,000, for which we said thank you. We had a whole year of stability. This year, the government have provided us with 3 years funding. They've put that funding into our core grant so that we have flexibility within the rules of the things that they have devolved to us. The rise from the grant in the previous year to the coming year is £47,000. So our baseline has gone up. No, we didn't get the Brucey bonus present we got last year, this year as well, but you don't get Brucey bonus presents every single year. That's the nature of a bonus. So we did get the extra money. I'm thankful for the extra money. I'm actually more thankful that we have security of knowing that for the next 3 years, we can tell our partners where the money's coming from and that they can secure contracts for staff who aren't having to know whether they're on a 3-month contract or a 6-month contract with lots of breaks, because that isn't good for the service. So I told Councillor Ricketts that last week. I'm happy to say it again today. I will continue to say it.
Your time is up. Could you please complete your sentence? Thank you.
Can I have a supplementary, please, Lord Mayor?
Yes, certainly.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. And thank you, Chris. Good to get that clarification. I think given that Councillor Ricketts was apparently told this last week and he has instead presented it as fact that there's apparently a cut that we're getting this year, does he not also maybe to think about code of conduct training, given that we have to act with integrity and honesty in everything that we do as councillors? And in this instance, and I think maybe other instances, that hasn't maybe been the case. So do you think that maybe we could add that to his list of training along with corporate parenting? Thank you.
I think it's really important at the moment that we do tell honest things about what the government is doing, and other things that are happening in the city, not create misinformation. That is really important. I think actually it's important for all of us to be reminded of code of conduct, and maybe refresher courses for all members on code of conduct rather than just targeting one would be appropriate. Thank you.
Mr. Holloway.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. My question is for Councillor Stevens. Thank you for the recent announcement of the funding for pedestrian crossing at the North Hill end of Mutley Plain. Residents have been genuinely delighted to hear about this news. I've had women in touch, including children who attend Plymouth High School for Girls, a mother pushing a pushchair. This is a clear example of where the council is responding to everyday concerns picked up by local councillors, amplifying evidence that the police have that this is the one most potentially dangerous spot in Plymouth. So my question is, Councillor Stevens, when can these delighted residents expect to have the crossing installed? Thank you.
That's a good question at the end, and I like the first bit as well of your announcement. I am grateful, whoever you are, whatever party you stand under, or whatever you are, if you represent your residents, you're doing a good job, and that's what you have done, Councillor Holloway, Councillor Penrose, Councillor Smith, and your MP. So the work that's been based there is based on observation as well. I've stood on that crossing with yourselves and noticed how dodgy it is, relying on the change of traffic motivated lights to get across. So all those people you mentioned will benefit. The work is underway for planning, for purchasing of the equipment. It takes a lot of time, you can understand, but we're hoping that that work will be completed, started over the summer holidays, simply because traffic volumes are less because of the school run issues there. But I'll keep you up to date on when it's starting, when it's finishing, and when it's going to be crossed. Thank you.
Thank you. I think that's a really welcome response. I think it is reasonable that people who maybe haven't been following the work that the council's doing up close around things around the flow of traffic. Can you provide assurances for anyone that might be concerned that the crossing will be installed in a way that both maximises safety but also keeps traffic flowing through this artery of Plymouth?
Yes.
Councillor Nicholson.
Thank you very much indeed, Lord Mayor. My question is to Councillor Lowry as the Cabinet Member for the City Centre. Since our last council meeting, we've seen the sad demise now of the House of Fraser, one of many businesses that have folded since the introduction or implementation of the scheme by the former Conservative Council and the continuation by the Labour Council. Does Councillor Lowry take some responsibility for the impact on businesses from the city centre regeneration works, welcome though it may be in the longer term, that we're seeing a demise of our city centre's retail offer, and many shops, notwithstanding the fact that Councillor Lang will say, if she wants to listen, that actually footfall has increased maybe over the Christmas period, the quality of the offer in Plymouth is deteriorating, and many people are put off by the mismanagement by the Labour Council of the works in the city centre. So is he going to take this opportunity to apologise to the general public for the mismanagement of the public realm works and the Royal Parade?
Says the man who was originally responsible for Armada Way. He's got a very short statement. Actually, I'm very proud of what we're doing on our city centre. Would you like to listen to my response or not? The choice is yours. Actually, I'm very proud of what's happening in the city centre. We've got the largest play space in the country being put in the city centre at the moment. We've got Armada Way on programme, on cost. We've got Royal Parade opening up. New George Street complete and being very successful. We've got more events. We've got one of the most successful malls in the country currently operate. We've got footfall increasing, and we've got much more to come. So I'm not going to apologise. I'm working very, very hard, and those rewards are visible for everyone to see in our city centre.
There's a supplementary, Lord Mayor. So he is proud then the fact that the first contractor discontinued and there was a delay in the programme. He is content that the scheme on Royal Parade, it's taken a much longer than it probably should have. That the bus shelters are not materialised as planned. Look through, Lord Mayor, the mismanagement of the programme is reprehensible. How can we ever learn lessons if we don't accept that we made mistakes? And will Councillor Lowry reflect on this after the meeting?
All those projects are challenging projects. That city centre was built 80 years ago. I went and visited it nearly every week, and you could see in some parts of the city centre there were voids the size of trucks, and those had to be addressed. And there were services that weren't in the right place, and those had to be addressed. We had COVID, and then we had all the issues around the cost of living that came with it. So it was a very challenging project. But in the end, the rewards have come home, and we're seeing more events taking place in the city centre. We had a 300% increase in the number of events in Old Town Street and New George Street. You're incorrect, of course, as that seems to be the sort of agenda that you guys over there adopt over there. As you've already heard today, Royal Parade is on programme. It's ahead of schedule, in fact. It's on budget. So is a mile away. So is the budget there. So I'm not quite sure what point you're trying to actually make other than just have a pop about something that most of us have accepted we're doing a good job.
Councillor Ricketts.
Thank you, my Lord Mayor. Question to Councillor Bryce-Delph. We've had our communications about net zero madness, where you want to make residents cold and poor by 2030. You made a strange statement at the last scrutiny last year that you were going to cycle to all your council meetings, but you didn't say you would just cycle everywhere per se, so you wouldn't stop driving a petrol car.
Point of order, Lord Mayor.
Cycle to all your cycle meetings.
Councillor Ricketts.
Are you still holding to that pledge? We don't have point of orders on questions.
Apologies, Lord Mayor. I have a gammy knee, so up and down is a bit difficult at the moment. I'd like to raise a point of order, please. Councillor Ricketts raised that very same exact question at the two-day budget scrutiny, and he had a very detailed, direct reply from Councillor Bryce-Delph. I do not see its best use of full council time.
That is not a point of order. That is not a point of order. Councillor Ricketts, will you please ask your question?
Just very, very strange behaviour. Yeah, the question is he still holding to that pledge?
I have a point of order, Lord Mayor.
I have a council meetings. It's a simple question to the cabinet member.
I have a point.
Councillor Stevens.
You really are rude.
What's your point of order?
Lord Mayor, is it not the case that this section of the council agenda is to hold cabinet members and chairs of committees to account for the work they do as cabinet members and chairs of committees? What people do when we clock off, we're not accountable here. So could you please ask people to direct their questions to the responsibilities that they hold?
Can we just take the question, please, very briefly? It's the last question, and you've only got a few seconds left.
I appreciate an answer to a very simple question. Is Councillor Bryce-Delph still
What was the
cycling to
question?
council meeting? Is he still cycling to all of his council meetings? Is he still holding to that promise?
That's not a relevant question. It's about what he's doing outside the council.
Lord Mayor, I'm happy to respond. I do not understand where Councillor Ricketts got that notion from. Feel free to look through any minute of this council, any recording. I've never stated that I will only ever cycle to council meetings or in my personal life. It is fake news, as we've seen repeatedly today. You indicated at the start of your answer that you see the climate emergency as a nonsense, again revealing your true priorities when it comes to both nature and climate in this city and across the globe. You said once again that net zero will make us colder and poorer. I'm proud that this council is working on a multi-million-pound retrofitting programme which will help homes to be healthier, cosier and bring down people's bills, saving them money. I regularly cycle and walk. It's something I enjoy. It's something that saves me money. Have I ever said I will never step foot in a car? I certainly have not.
Right, that finishes the questions. And that concludes the business of the City Council for today. Thank you, members, for your time and engagement. I wish all of you watching a good evening and hope you stay safe and well. And I hope members get home before the yellow warning, or the orange warning, I think it is, amber warning, takes effect. Thank you.